Yo, 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 welcome to episode 24 of the Elite Wrestling Club podcast, where we explore individuals' dreams and the unwavering persistence to achieve them on and off the mat. Hi, I'm your host, Lance Runyon, and we are thrilled to have you join us for another inspiring episode. In this episode, we will be going behind the scenes with Jake Hodges, who is a former UNI wrestler, a PWC athlete, and the current coach for Immortal Athletics at the Indianola, Iowa location at Simpson College. You can find him on social media at Wrestling RH, his account called Wrestling Rabbit Hole. We will share personal stories and valuable insights, and we're excited to bring you a fascinating conversation that will inspire and motivate you to chase your dreams and achieve greatness both on and off the mat. So without further ado, let's welcome Jake Hodges and dive into the Elite Wrestling Club podcast world.
Thanks.
Heck yeah, man. Appreciate you taking the time to come on here today. I've always appreciated your love for the sport, and your appreciation for the sport. Obviously, you got that account that I mentioned, Wrestling Rabbit Hole. Pay attention to that quite a bit. But then also, you always jumping in and rolling with whoever. Doesn't matter the size. Whenever they need a partner and need a guy. So I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, it reminds me of the time I jumped in with you and you cradled me about 47 times. So that was a good time.
It's always good. I talked to Cruz a little bit. He honestly is the one that told me I should get you on here because, just jumping into your journey a little bit, you having a late start to wrestling and then obviously making the move from Georgia to Iowa to come wrestle at UNI and, moving into a PWC athlete and coaching and helping out with Immortal and then now having your own location. It's pretty cool to see the development. So hometown, Watkinsville, Georgia. If you want to talk a little bit about your late start to wrestling, and then like your motocross and kind of gymnastics upbringing.
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about gymnastics. I guess I tend to say gymnastics because I was actually a competitive cheerleader, which was the real story. But I don't know, man. I really liked the tumbling aspect of that stuff. It gave me a lot of body control when I moved over into wrestling. I think gymnastics and tumbling and things like that help combat sports a ton. But I didn't start wrestling until 7th grade, and I got really lucky with the coach that I had because his son was 2 years above me, and they were already going to club stuff. So like just outside of normal middle school / high school regular practice, they were heading to clubs after those practices and on the weekends as well to get some extra work in. That's Coach Knight and his son Cody Knight. I really appreciate those guys a ton. They really brought me into what this could be as a sport and as a way to live your life. Yeah, I mean 7th grade, late start. I don't know. People ask sometimes like if I think I should have, if I would have liked it more if I would have started earlier, and I don't know. It's a hard question to answer because you don't know where you would have ended up, really.
Right.
I mean, there's a chance for, I don't really like the word burnout because I'm not 100% certain that it's a thing. I think those things can be managed in a way where it doesn't happen, but there is a possibility of losing your passion for something early if you get pushed too hard, for sure. So, I mean, when did you start wrestling?
I started when I was like 6 years old. So
yeah, that's
pretty early.
Yeah. I did about everything under the sun up till high school. I mean, like I said, I did motocross, I was a competitive cheerleader, I did karate, I tried soccer, baseball, I did a ton of stuff. And then in high school, I decided that I was a little too small to play football, especially in the South where it's like king, just getting crushed by these huge dudes. And then just went full in on wrestling in 9th grade.
Where do you think that advantage came in from the tumbling aspect for wrestling?
having a leg up on spatial awareness with your own body. So like when I'm upside down, I understand where I can still move. And then when you move it into wrestling, obviously you have to handle yourself plus another person. So if you're trying to learn to handle yourself still, it can be difficult when there's somebody trying to push you off of them or put you on your back or whatever as you're moving. But and especially the way the sport developed when I was in high school, a lot of the leg pass stuff and scrambling stuff became really big, and I could move through those positions pretty well without panicking when I was upside down or in what people would consider kind of questionable situations.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned not really, I guess, not really changing your late start because of burnout. Um, and it is kind of up in the air. You don't know how you would have viewed wrestling if you would have started at kindergarten or first grade, and then by seventh grade, you might have been like, "Man, is this really something I even want to do anymore?" Or by high school, it could have been different. So I like that perspective that you have on just kind of glad it went how it did, and wouldn't change it. So
Yeah, and that's not to say that there's anything wrong with starting early and only doing wrestling. Really, I don't think that's an issue either. I just think it's really hard to say where you end up if you change something
right,
early on.
yeah, I mean, and a lot of people, especially, specialize at those young ages. And it's like, I think it's cool that you did all those different things, because I think it's important to play a lot of different sports, and not only just because they're sports, but even just for the social interaction,
Yeah.
being in a team. It's a lot different wrestling than it is playing football, because you got 11 other guys or 10 other guys on the field that you rely on at the
Mm-hmm.
at the same time doing your own job. And wrestling, you got to just point the finger at yourself. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
for everyone. It's kind of something you kind of have to figure out by doing those other sports.
Yeah, for sure.
So obviously, ninth grade, you really jumped into wrestling head first. You said
Mm-hmm.
4-time state placer, 67-0 senior year. I don't know if you have any takeaways from high school, or any words of advice that you kind of learned from, or lessons that you want to share with the audience.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. My junior year, I got second. My senior year, I won, and like you said, I was 67-0 or whatever it was. But I think just the main difference between my junior and senior year was there was just I just knew in my soul that I wasn't gonna be beat that season. Like, and you can chalk it up to a change in confidence. I mean, obviously, belief plays a huge role in success, but also the work was also being done. So it's hard to say that the only thing that changed was my confidence. I also believe that I got more skilled from my junior senior year. So confidence is a whole lot easier to have when you know you're backing it up with work. I think
Right.
that was the
Yeah,
difference.
I kind of had a similar experience my junior year. Well, I guess my sophomore junior year, I got third. Um, both years, and my senior year, I got first. And I think, similar to what you said, it was just knowing I wasn't going to be beat, like having that confidence. It was almost like, yeah, I wanted to be a state champ. I want to be a 4-time state champ. I mean, who doesn't want to be? But like, I didn't actually believe in myself enough, and I didn't, I guess, put in the time, enough time to believe in myself until my senior year, when I was like, well, I'm here now. It's kind of my
Right,
last year. Don't know where I'm going. Don't know what to do, but I got nothing to lose at this point, so might as well make the most of it.
right. I don't think that like you can just fall into being a state champ or an all American or put any whatever goal. I don't think you can just like fall into it. I think if you you do have to believe it prior to it happening.
Right.
I think that's important. And it's a hard thing to do because you're calling yourself, hey, I'm going to be a state champ or whatever goal, and you haven't done it yet. It could be
Yep.
a strange thing to try and wrap your head around. But the more you do it, the more you can start to see it play out while you're heading that direction.
Yeah, and that's what I think is kind of sometimes iffy with like goals and really focusing on that outcome rather than progress is because,
Right.
I mean, you could have been 66-0 your senior year, stepped out on the mat in the finals, and somehow ended up getting headlocked in the first 15
Yeah.
seconds and pinned, and like,
Yeah.
but could have majored or tech falled or pinned the kid the match before you wrestled him, and for whatever reason, he just caught you. You know what I mean? It's like you can only control so much, and I think it's important to. That's why I kind of shift my focus from like outcome goals to more focusing on the progress.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in an outcome goal gives you a direction to head, and then you can kind of put it not behind you, but you can start to focus on, okay, what are the progress steps that I need to take toward this.
Right. Yeah. I think that's huge. What was your recruitment like? What made you decide to come to UNI?
Yeah, so through high school I wrestled at the compound wrestling club when I wasn't doing the high school practice, obviously. Um, and for 3 years in a row, Doug Schwab came down and ran an intensive camp, and it was the energy he brought. I was like, I don't want to wrestle for anybody else. So that third year he was there, um, I told the coach at compound, one of the two coaches at compound at the time, Lee Roper, I was like, hey, I
Yep.
want to wrestle for that guy. He's like, did you tell him? And I go, no,
Mm-hmm.
is that something I should, like, that's what I should do? Or like, because that seems like I thought you were supposed to be recruited or whatever. He's like, no, I think you should go tell him. And so after the camp was done, the last day, I was like, hey, Doug, I really want to wrestle for you, man. I think you can get me as um, the closest to my goals, if not achieving them. Like, I really think you can help me achieve my goals, and I want to wrestle for you and I. And he just looked at me and goes, all right, we'll see what we can do. And then however many months, I don't know when it, but he started calling and ended up coming up on a visit. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how I got introduced to um, Doug in Northern Iowa doing those camps.
Well, you explained Doug pretty well.
Yeah,
I mean, even just before practices and stuff, it's like, man, he gets you to want to run right through a brick wall,
yeah,
and he'll lead the pack. That's the thing.
oh yeah, yep.
Um, so how did that transition, I guess, from Georgia to Iowa, kind of shape your journey and your career once you kind of got up here and got into the training and
Yeah, I mean, I'm have never been like. I mean, obviously, I got homesick a little bit, but pretty much I was where I'm at is where I'm at. So like when I decided to go out to Iowa to wrestle for Doug, I was like, okay, I'm here now, and there's no looking back. Like that's it. And when I was in Georgia, I was like, I'm here. I'm focused on this. Like there really wasn't a huge like barrier or wall that I had to get over being so far away. Obviously, I miss my parents, um, and my
yep,
family and friends, but I really believed in what was going on at UNI, and so I was like, I'm here. This is what I'm doing. Um, and like I said, there was really no looking back, and I'm still in Iowa, so there really hasn't been any looking back.
yep.
It's been 10 years now.
Was there any certain thing that helped shift your perspective that way? Because I know we got a few guys out of state, few Georgia guys, Florida, Alabama,
Yeah.
that they might struggle, or even like other recruits that are, out of state that might be like, man, I don't know if I want to come clear to Iowa. Is there anything that helped shape your perspective, or anything your parents kind of did that helped know that you were supported and loved, and that they'd be there no matter what, kind of by your side?
Yeah.
So
Well, so one of the things right away, I mean, Joey Laser was up here. Um, he was his 5th year when I was a true freshman. So him being from Georgia, and like we could talk about some of the same things from high school or whatever. Not that we were in the same high school, but just Georgia State tournament, stuff like that. That helped. But my parents not putting pressure on me to like come back, and I mean, obviously they wanted to see me, and they still want that. If my mom had the choice, she would have me move back now still. But they respect the things that I'm trying to do up here, and they are very supportive of it. It really helps. It also makes it hard because I know that that's a lot of love coming from 15 hours away, and I could go back
right.
and do stuff down there, but they know that I love it up here and that I have some things I want to do, and they're gonna continue to support me regardless. So that really helps. And always, and if anything ever goes crazy, I know I'm always welcome back there. Like they're not gonna disown me for being up here for so long back. Now you can't come back now. I'm not afraid of
Yeah.
that happening, So, they're open. They're always open for me to come back whenever I need to, but also want me to continue to pursue what I want.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Um, can you share kind of some of the key differences that you noticed just in the wrestling scene between, Georgia and Iowa, and kind of how it impacted your development once you got up here?
Yeah, man, the biggest thing, and it was one of the things I always tried to bring up whenever Doug handed me the mic after it socials or whatever, was that, man, in Georgia, it's the respect and the fans are just not the same. It's just not the same in Georgia that it is um, in Iowa. Iowa, people know wrestling, they know wrestlers. The state tournament is massive, from a fan and um, spectator perspective. It just is. It's really fun to have the thing you like to do put on a pedestal. Basically, it's like, oh, you're a wrestler,
Yep.
yeah. We're from Iowa. We love wrestling, you know, and that it's just a lot of fun when people enjoy what you do and enjoy watching the sport you love.
Man, you were like prime West Gym time too, I feel like.
Oh yeah, that was yeah. There was a couple duels I wrestled at. I mean, there was a couple duels in West Gym that I wrestled in that you get your hand raised and you look up and it's just fully packed. Like people,
Yeah.
everyone's standing up, like standing room only. It is there wasn't another environment like it, and I don't know, there might not ever be again now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, hopefully we can do that in my cloud, but
Oh my god,
you
yeah.
never know.
If we fill the McLeod, that'd be incredible. It'd be incredible. But there is still something about how hot and just gritty the environment in West Gym was. It was just like teams hated everyone that I've ever talked to that wrestled us there. Like, we hated going there, man. We knew it was going to be loud and hot. Doug's in there turning up the heaters at 5 a.m. to make sure they're running all day. Like, there's just not another place to compete like it. Now, obviously, we all loved it because that's where we worked out every day. So people come in, it gives
Right.
us an advantage.
Yep. And we're used to it. And
Oh yeah,
Man, yeah, that place is pretty special. Knowing that we're not going to have that this year hurts a little bit, and I'm sure it does for other people, past people that have competed there. I mean, it's been around for almost 100 years or something like that. So
Yeah, listen.
people
It is an old
people
building.
are
It is an old building.
yeah, it is. It is for sure. Um, so 2015, you got fourth at MAC.
Yep.
I kind of just want to know a little bit more about your college career. I wasn't really around until 2019. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have, some advice, some lessons, biggest takeaway,
Yep.
different adversities or setbacks that you had throughout.
Yep. So that fourth at MAC was it was the time where I felt like I wrestled I want to say best, because I know I got better, but my freest, because I mean I was I think it ended up being a 2-point match with a guy who kind of stomped me earlier in the year to go to NCAA's. And there's one situation that I think about every now and then where I get the first takedown, and I would say I'm pretty good on top, but instead of keeping him on the mat, I cut him right away because I was like, I'm the man. I'm feeling good. And then I think he ended up getting a takedown like right away after that, which feels bad, but it is what it is. But that was the one time. There was a couple more times. There was a duel in West Gym and a match at the Scuffle where I really felt like, hey, you're the man. It's time for you to go be the man, and that's something that I had struggled with a lot of my career. It's like I never allowed myself to be confident enough to win, even though I still believe I was skilled enough to win.
Right.
I just and I still kind of have some of that to this day, where it's like I don't want to come off as cocky, so it pulls my confidence back. So there's a line you gotta play with where, yeah, sometimes you might come off as cocky, and if you do, hey man, just apologize and then pull back over the line a little bit, and then try and stay on top of that line between confident and cocky, because that is kind of where that belief of like, yeah, I'm the man can settle. And I think that was one of the things that I didn't work on enough, or didn't know how to navigate that well, or just kind of ignored it because I was like, well, if I'm skilled enough, I'll win, which is true. But I also fully believe you have to think you're going to win wholeheartedly. Like I said, you don't just fall
Yeah.
into some of the success.
Right.
But that is one of those things. And like I said, I can remember there's about 3, maybe 4 times where I felt that. And MAC tournament was one of them. There was a duel at West Gym where I beat a kid that I technically wasn't supposed to. And then a scuffle match where I beat a kid that I technically wasn't supposed to, I don't think. And then maybe a duel at Missouri. I can't really remember. But yeah, I would say that's one of the things that I would have adjusted, or spent more time on, or done something to, or just like talk to somebody about, just
Right.
to get it out there, and then see if it helped or not.
Before we begin today's episode, let's give a big shout out to our first sponsor, The Wash Bar. Get ready for an outstanding car wash experience that surpasses the ordinary. At The Wash Bar, you're in control with services tailored to your preferences, your wash, your way, as often as you like. Your satisfaction is paramount. The team remembers your preferences, ensuring top quality service every time. Their app and online tools make customizing your wash effortless. But it's more than a car wash at The Wash Bar, it's a community. Get acquainted
with a friendly team and enjoy complimentary root beer for kids as they await their car's transformation. Experience unparalleled cleanliness with advanced technology. A clean car is more than a luxury, it's a sanctuary. They offer 24-hour self-service bays, free vacuums, and more. Don't miss the exceptional car wash experience at the Wash Bar, which is located at 1125 Fountains Way in Cedar Falls, Iowa. Visit today for a unique car wash adventure. A special thanks to our sponsor, the Wash Bar. Now let's dive into today's episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a line that we all kind of struggle with, and maybe not everyone, but even like for me, that's something I struggle with, is the line between confidence and humility. It's like, because I want to be humble and I don't, but yet I still think there's a level at which I need to believe in myself and be confident in myself. And sometimes I definitely feel that where it kind of holds you back a little bit, because you're confident, you want to be confident enough in yourself where you want to walk the walk, and
Yep.
but for whatever reason you're too busy thinking, man, if I walk a certain way, if I talk a certain way, people are going to think I'm not a good person, or too cocky, or arrogant, or
and really, if you're around the same people enough, like, one, they'll tell you, they're like, hey man, you're kind of being a turd today, like what's going on? Or they'll give you probably the feedback or tools to find the line that you can walk where it's like, yeah, this is it, where I'm not being an a-hole, but I also fully believe in myself.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you just got to jump right over the line, probably. And then,
I know, that's what I'm trying to think about. It's like,
I think
at
you
what
jump
point,
right over the line. Okay. It'll
at
knock you
what
back.
point is it, does it become, okay, am I worried too much about what people think of me if I am this confident person? Because, I mean, deep down, we know who we are. Our friends, our closest people that are by us know who we are. It's like, what's wrong with being confident in myself enough to be able to put myself in the best position to succeed,
Right. I think that's
I think that's where accountability comes in too. Like you just mentioned, people around you, if they saw it, okay, that'd be one thing. But if it's like a guy in the crowd's like, oh, this guy's super cocky, he walks out, like, okay, and what? Because are you just like jealous of the way that he presents himself because he is so confident in himself?
Right. And I think as a coach, you have to be ultra aware of if a guy is feeling very confident and believing in themselves. You obviously try and keep them on the line, but don't squash that confidence by saying, hey, you're unless they're obviously being way over. If they're way over the line, obviously pull them back. Like, hey man, you need to bring it back a little bit. Like, yeah, you're the man, but you didn't treat that person well, or whatever.
Yep.
You don't want to squash their self-belief, because that can take a long time to fix, as opposed to, hey man, just put your hand here on a single leg instead of this place. That's a skill issue. Takes time as well, but I think that a mindset issue can take longer.
Are there any tools you've found kind of since then that have helped with that? Even just in coaching?
I mean, I read stuff pretty often. I really think that the best teacher of stuff is experience. So sometimes I will jump over the line. I don't, and then if I get a gut feeling that it was too far, then I stop and think about it. Maybe not in the moment, but later, and be like, okay, I need to either address this person that I jumped over the line with, and say, hey man, sorry, like I didn't mean whatever I said, or I didn't mean to come off as this kind of person.
Right.
But I think just I think that's just the development of confidence, probably. I it seems really hard to just read something like, oh yeah, I'm confident now, got it.
Yep.
So I think just, and acting can go a long way too. If you act a certain way, you can start
Yep.
to just become that, and then you can imitate and then adjust it to who you actually are, is one of the things. Like, I mean, just like a wrestling skill, hey, this guy's hitting this high crotch really nice, let's imitate it, and now adjust it to your body style or your type of wrestling, or your pacing, because the best people aren't imitators, but they probably started that way.
Right. Yeah, I like that. It's almost like fake it till you make it kind of thing. I mean,
yeah, and then make it your own.
Yep. Imitate then adjust. Make it more towards you. I really like that.
Yeah. One of the
And then,
things that actually I really
the best
like,
teacher
and
is
this isn't,
experience.
yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that actually Cruz says sometimes is, and it's not this exact wording, but just mess it up, figure it out. And you can imagine what word is replaced with mess, but that's something that I also remind myself of. It's like, hey, mess it up, figure it out. When I feel like because it's not perfection, but like the idea that I need to be doing something better than I'm already doing it can stop me from progressing. It's like, hey, just do it, man. Just do it, mess it up, figure it out, adjust. You'll be fine. So that's actually,
Yeah,
I really like that phrase that he gave me a while back.
Yeah, I really like that too, because it doesn't say, okay, don't not take action because you're afraid of messing something up. It says take action. If you do mess it up, then you'll figure it out. It doesn't mean that you will mess it up, but without taking action, you're never gonna know. You're never gonna know.
Yep. And then if you layer the confidence piece on top of that, you're like, I'm the best. So if I mess it up, I know I'll figure it out. Or I'm the best, I'm not going to mess it up. And then if you do, whatever, I'll figure it out. Like, it's, and that's, if you do that forever, then probably going to get pretty good at whatever you're trying to get good at.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of peace in that. It's a good perspective to have.
Yeah, it's actually similar to, I don't know how much you've seen of Mark Schwab, but he was around a lot when I was in college, and one of the things he would always say is, I'll adjust, I'll find a way, which is essentially the same kind of thing. Like, I'll adjust, so like, I'm gonna do it, and then if it doesn't happen, I'll adjust and I'll find a new way, or re-look at the old way, or whatever. I'll adjust, I'll find a way. Is a very similar phrase.
Yeah, there's a similar phrase in the book Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. It's persist, pivot, or concede.
Yeah.
Kind of, you got three options, and obviously you don't want to concede, but if you have to, you have to. You just develop a new plan and attack it from a different angle, and that's kind of what pivot is. And then just persist and keep going through it. Eventually, it'll figure itself out, or you'll figure it out.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, I really like Mark Schwab. I actually worked with him in high school through his like mental training stuff, opportunities to succeed.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It was pretty transformative, and it's something you really got to believe in and think that it'll make a difference. And I if I could go back, I guess I would have a different perspective on it, because I can't say I always did exactly what he told me to do, or to the level that I needed to do it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
But obviously that's what the experience is for.
Right.
So teaching me that. And what was your favorite moment from your college career?
Oh, wrestling wise, or what? What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, dual tournament, watching
Okay,
somebody else. Whatever.
gotcha. Yeah, there's probably a few. Um, I really enjoyed getting able to compete at the scuffle. I really like that because I remember watching it when I was in high school as a senior. I think maybe when I was a junior or senior was one of the first years they had it. So I really enjoyed doing that. Um, any time we got to travel as a team was very enjoyable. Even though we were all cutting weight or whatever,
Yep.
it was still always found a way to have a lot of fun. Um, there was one match in West Gym that I won. I can't even remember the kid's name. I don't know, but that was one of the times where like beat a kid I shouldn't have. As I was getting my hand raised, I look up and like just tons of people cheering, which is pretty memorable. My very first workout as a team, um, I was really shy when I got up to you and I, and so our very first workout was a buddy carry to First Street and back. So like the 3 whatever miles that is, and then 7
Yep.
ropes. And I'm looking around, everybody's got their partner and leaving, and the last person standing around is Doug. So I'm like, hey, can you go with me, or you not doing this? Or he's like, oh yeah, let's do it. And of course, every time I tried to switch for him to buddy carry me, he's like, just make it to this next pole. Just make it to this next pole. I was like, cool. Can I put you down at some point, or am I just going to carry you the whole way? He did some of the carry, but I still feel like I did a lot. I think I probably did over half at least. But that was
That's
pretty memorable.
hilarious.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, it's like the other day we were doing a bike workout. It was like me, Caleb, Owen, Zach, and Doug, and
Yep.
it was like 4 minutes as hard as you can. Then we'll switch, throw on a weighted vest or whatever. And me and Caleb went first, so Doug was sitting back watching our time, watching our distance or whatever. And he's like, man, I don't know if I can get this. Like you guys kind of crushed that or whatever. So he just like
Yeah.
calls on someone random that's just sitting around. He's like, hey, come over here. Like hop on
Yep.
the bike and go. It was
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah. I think might call him out here a little bit, but I think that's one of his excuses to recover. I think he'll use it as a way. He's like, I'm just trying to get these guys ready for anything, anytime, which is true. But you're also getting a break. I know what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. He's earned his breaks though.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I just wanted to talk a little trash because it's way more fun.
I agree. No, it's hilarious when he does that. So obviously, post grad, PWC athlete. What kind of helped you decide you wanted to stick around, keep trying to compete, and then obviously move into coaching, helping crews out?
Yeah, so I think I knew I really wanted to stick doing something wrestling related. I wasn't sure what that was going to be, and the obvious next step from college was become an RTC athlete and do that for a little while. And I can't really put my finger on what made me decide to stop doing that and transition into more of a coaching type thing. I just knew that something felt off. Like something was like nudging me. It was like, hey, it might be time to stop competing. Um, and so I sat down and I did a whole, like I wrote out all the pros and cons and all the things that people say you're supposed to do or whatever. And really what it came down to is like, okay, if you decide you want to come back to competing, you pretty much always can, because I'm still not old, but I was younger then for sure. So I was like, if in a year I decide that I want to compete again, I probably still can. So I was like,
Right.
let's try this route and see what happens. And I felt like a large weight lift off my shoulders. And I still don't know exactly what that was or what it means, but it seems to have been the correct choice. And now, and I was still technically on the PWC roster for a little while, but I was more just in helping guys, mostly just wrestling with them, because I still hadn't really started coaching or anything yet. And then I started helping Cruz out at his club stuff. And then we really, started doing that pretty much full time.
Yeah, I mean, how did that go at first? Were you like, I'm kind of all in on this Immortal thing, helping Cruz out, being able to help kids get. I'm sure you had different individuals and stuff, kids that you worked with one-on-one, and
yeah. So right away, actually, I think when I first started helping him, I might have actually still been training to compete, because I remember there were some times where I'd go through a PWC practice and then immediately go to the Immortal practice, which we had at UNI and at Wartburg, was our two locations back then.
okay.
So I would leave UNI and go straight to Wartburg and start helping. I remember that was tough because, like, I either had to pack my food right away, like so I could eat right away and then go help, or either not eat or stop at Quick Star, which we all know what that's like. It's not the greatest,
Shout out Quick Star, though.
Rib sandwich and a Gatorade is not ideal refueling, but tastes good. So that was kind of the same situation Luhan's in right now, doing the RTC plus helping out at club. And then I ended up getting a really bad staph infection in my knee as well, which kind of probably, this all blurs together. So I'm not sure which things came in what order. It was such a weird time. I feel like I was just living in chaos for a while. So I don't know if that helped push me out of competing or if it was already after I had decided not to. But that played a factor somewhere in there. And then once we really got the ball rolling, as in we started getting a lot of kids show interest in the club, I just was like, yep, this is what we are doing. And I think we can have a really special thing out of UNI's room in Immortal Athletics Wrestling Club.
Wrapping up this week's episode, let's give a shout out to our final sponsor, Mulligan's Brick Oven. Indulge in delightful dining experience brimming with incredible flavors. Mulligan's offers inventive dishes with a focus on brick oven pizza and progressive pub fare. Their menu caters to both classics and creative creations. And don't forget their diverse beer menu, which is carefully curated to complement their cuisine. They're open from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., Sundays through Wednesdays, and until midnight, Thursdays through Saturdays. Mulligan's lets you savor their culinary delights and explore various beers. Embark on a culinary adventure at Mulligan's Brick Oven Grill and Pub. Thanks again to Mulligan's Brick Oven, Pizza, Grill, and Pub for the support.
Yeah, man, and it's grown a lot in the last. I mean, even just in the last couple of years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, now breaking off and starting your own location and at Simpson. Dylan Peters down there, obviously connection to you and I.
Yep.
But going back to even what you said about kind of Lujan and him having you to kind of look to and be like, all right, well, this guy did it a little bit. He trained to be an athlete, but he also was coaching, helping out. I think it helps a lot in your development. Not only like as a wrestler, but also as a person outside of wrestling and as a coach, and being able to lead and mentor young kids, whether they're in high school or even middle school and younger. Kind of instilling those. You're young enough to look back and go, okay, here's some of the things that I learned along the way, and especially with parents and things like that come in with the younger club stuff, which I know you guys don't deal with it as much, which is super cool to see. Pretty supportive families that train at Immortal.
Yeah. Well, so our most supportive families, there was a lot of them, there was an adjustment period where, like, hey, these are kind of the roles we all have to play in your child's development of wrestling and as just a human, you know.
Yep.
Because people have heard it before. It's really hard. And I know Doug has said it. It's really hard to be dad and coach at the same time, you know.
Right.
So, and and we as coaches have to be willing to have those conversations in a way that doesn't shut the parent out, because that's not what we want either. We know that you have to be involved in your child's success, not only for wrestling but their life. So we can't shut them out, but there also needs to be some discussion on what things should be addressed by who and when.
Right. And almost making it like a complete full circle. So the things that you guys are preaching at practice, the parents then can also preach at home. So it's not like this drag of, oh, your coaches are saying this, but here's what I think, or here's what I think you should do differently, or
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's values we hold at the club, and there's families that hold the same values, but also other values as well. And obviously, they are, as their family, they can have whatever values they want. It's your family. You
yep.
get to decide, and they can make any kind of corrections they want anytime with those family type values. And but I think if it's a club value, you can get either multiple emphasis from family and club, or the parent, a lot of times, they're like, hey, this is what we're seeing, like, is this something you can address before we do, or something like that, which we're
Yep.
happy to do if it falls into one of those categories.
Right. So obviously you have the page, the Wrestling Rabbit Hole.
Yep.
Kind of want to talk a little bit about how you got started, kind of your interest in technique and skill development, and
Yeah. So I got lucky with the coaches I had, middle school, high school, and club, and they were all very adamant on skill, as a way to progress through the sport. It was, I mean, we probably, especially at compound, we did a ton of drilling / sparring and less live. We scrapped a good amount, but the emphasis was on skill development a lot of the time. And so that's kind of where I got the idea of looking at and trying to understand positions in wrestling from all those guys, from Fretwell and Roper, Thomas Kimbrell, who was at compound for a while, who was actually also one of my high school assistant coaches, as well. And Al Yock was my head high school coach. He put a big emphasis on skill, and he still sends me texts to this day. He's like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? And so it's really good to still have those relationships with those guys. But that's a lot of where my interest in the skill came from, for sure.
So do you like to use those kind of videos or skill kind of techniques? I'm trying to think of the word. Kind of the steps and things in the way that you coach now and your philosophy that you've built in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I think when you watch guys at the highest level, you can see what's what's effective at the time, and likely, well, some things continue to be effective and some kind of go in and out. I mean, leg pass was like the only thing to do for a while. That was back when Askin was wrestling and developing that kind of stuff. But when you start to break down some of these skills, you can see where, okay, this is similar to that. similar to that. These are all kind of the same type of thing, and then you can progressively start to build up an individual's wrestling where they can kind of pick the skill for a situation that they need to score in. So there's a ton of ways to get a takedown in short offense, like a go behind, right?
Yep.
You know, you can do head in the hole, drag, like backhand block or whatever. You know, there's a ton of things, and it's like you can, if a kid's already good at something, you can say, hey, here's these clips where this guy is doing the same skill you're doing. Here's some adjustments you can make, or hey, this isn't coming up at all. Like we don't think this is very effective right now in the way wrestling is. So, you know, you can, I mean, you obviously can continue to use it because it is still your career, but we think that this would be a better option in this position.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's one thing that, you know, really separates Immortal from, you know, other clubs, and just the philosophy that you guys have built and the style of training. It's super cool to watch it grow and develop. I think I got a couple other questions, and we can wrap it up with some rapid fire questions there at the end.
Okay.
How would you define success, and how has it changed over the years?
It's a hard question. I think you can define success in a lot of ways. But dogs are barking, huh? Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
You can define chaos. You define it in a lot of ways, but I think pursuing something that can bring you fulfillment is a fairly broad way to define success, and it's kind of outside of the idea that you have to achieve a specific goal. Not that there's not goals inside of that idea, but I mean, because obviously my goal is to be a NCAA Division I champion. You know, I could define success as achieving that goal, but if I don't have something over top of that that gives me fulfillment in chasing that goal, then I think that can cause a lot of pain on the backside. Not that there's not going to be pain anyway if you don't achieve it,
Right.
but
Yep.
you know, I think some sort of fulfillment in pursuit of something.
Yeah. No, I really like that. I like that, the thought of the fulfillment and the overarching, because if you don't have something to fall back on that's providing you with that fulfillment, I mean, you can only control so much. So it's really hard to know if you're ever really going to reach that goal in the end. And if you're not getting anything out of it, like you said, it can be a pretty painful experience if that's where your identity lies, you know.
Yep.
And something that you do rather than who you are and the person that you're becoming along the way, along the journey, along your experiences. What are two things that you've improved, or it doesn't have to be two, I guess, or what's something you've improved upon this year, and another thing that you're still working on to improve this year? And it could be coaching or life, or, you know, whatever for you.
Yeah, it was kind of so these fall in kind of the same category. I've gotten way better at remembering names. Way better at remembering names. And then something I can improve upon still is you know, just interactions with other people. Like, I'm very quiet, and so I don't necessarily go out of my way to talk if I feel like I don't need to or have to.
Right.
And like I said, those two things for me is just fall under the same kind of category, because when I interact with someone, it's the first time, I need to try and remember their name. You know, I need to do my best to remember their name, which has gotten a lot better. and then just interacting outside of that. You know, I think it's an important part of life in general.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I guess just diving a little bit into kind of what you're doing right now at Simpson with your own location, kind of how it's going. Maybe a message you kind of want to spread to maybe get more people to show up, or whatever you think.
Anybody, anytime is welcome. You know, we will always be athlete first. So, if there's any kind of hindrance to showing up for a practice or anything, for your first time, we're very flexible, and you know, it ultimately comes down to we want what's best for the athlete, regardless of anything else that's going on. So, you know, right now we're having, just to get people in the door, we're doing Sundays are free through September. And then we do a free week trial as well. So, if anybody's interested, feel free to stop in. But like I said, we don't mind if you if you do your other practices during the week, and come see us another time. That's fine. We don't mind who you sign up under. You know, I think we really are just, when I say we, I mean everyone involved in Immortal Athletics. We're really for the athlete's development, period. You know, so.
Love that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think we can roll into the rapid fire and finish it up here.
All right.
What's your favorite book?
Oh, let's see. Probably. I'll give you one fiction book, The Old Man and the Sea, and then one nonfiction book is The Practice by Seth Godin. I think it's called like The Practice Shipping Creative Work or something.
Okay. What's your favorite restaurant?
I really liked going to Montage when I was in Cedar Falls, even though I hardly ever went because it's way too fancy and they shouldn't allow me in there, you know? So I like to go in the Montage.
That's funny. Yeah, they got good food, but it's definitely fancy.
Yeah.
What's your favorite hard workout? I know you love your hard workouts. You and Hog.
Oh man, anything in the sauna is, I really enjoy. Well, enjoy is a weird word, but you know, I feel like that's where I can really test a lot of mental attributes, you know, because you might be in there for 10 minutes and it's already hard. It's already difficult. I mean, the assault bike in the sauna is some of the worst things I've ever done. You know, I'm trying to be a little more consistent and just lifting as a normal person instead of doing something that's going to try and kill me every day. But you know, anything like that. Me and Dylan just did one on a Concept 2 bike. So it's like those row machines, but it's a bike.
Yep.
You start on the level 1, like the setting, and you basically sprint for a minute, and you go up to 10, do 10 twice, and then back down, and you switch every minute. So he goes first minute, I go second minute. So we go 1 1 2 2 3 3, all the way up to 10 and back down, and you just see how many meters you can get. Yeah, it's not fun.
That's a good one.
It's not fun. We got like 23,000 something meters, which is that's what he's like. If we break this, I'm not doing this workout again. I go, all right, we're breaking it then because I don't want to do it again.
That's funny. Who's your favorite wrestler to watch right now?
Current wrestler, I Vito is fantastic to watch right now. He's on tear. And he actually just won. He just won Worlds this morning.
Yep.
He's fantastic. As a foreigner, probably. I mean, the dude he wrestled is fantastic to watch. Magomedov is fun to watch. You know, those two guys.
What's your favorite home cooked meal?
Oh, my mom makes this. I don't even know what it is. It's in like a big casserole dish. It's got squash and like sausage and stuff in it. I don't have a clue what it is, but it's pretty delicious.
What's your favorite hobby outside of wrestling? Last one.
I play a decent chunk of video games. You know, I do. I'll watch wrestling for a while, and then take a short break, play a little bit of video games, and then go back to watching wrestling or go to practice or whatever. So,
what game do you play?
oh god, all right,
or games?
Yeah, League of Legends. Just I can't. I've tried to stop playing it. I don't know. I cannot, and it's upsetting, dude. It really is.
That's funny.
But yeah. So that, and then every now and then we'll play something random, like me and Darren and Joey and some of those guys will play something random. But League of Legends is mostly what we play.
Awesome. Well, thank you for listening to the Elite Wrestling Club podcast. We hope you found today's episode valuable and enjoyed our exploration of Jake Hodges. To stay connected with us, you can hit the subscribe button never to miss an episode. We release new content every Monday. Leave a review on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. Your reviews help us reach more listeners and provide valuable content. You can visit the Elite Wrestling Club website and follow us on social media for questions, topic suggestions, or to connect with our community. If you love the episode, you can donate to us using our Elite Wrestling Club PayPal or Venmo on our Elite Wrestling Club podcast website. You can go to elitewrestlingclub.store, click podcast, and hit the podcast website button in yellow, where you'll see the donation heart in the top right corner. These donations help us to continue providing remarkable content for you weekly, as well as improve your experience for future episodes as well. I want to give a big shout out to Darren Youngblood and his company, Code of Silence, for their generous donation and support of the Elite Wrestling Club podcast for this episode. Exciting episodes are coming, so stay tuned and join us next time for more inspiration. Thank you for being a part of the Elite Wrestling Club podcast world. Keep exploring within to inspire others.